Hello. I wanted to make a video to talk to everyone about our discussion forums that we're doing this week. You you guys did a great job on this discussion forum, this one that was due today. This is probably the most difficult discussion forum of the entire semester. Using these terms for the first time is very difficult. These terms might be new to you, and then you have to understand them, and then you have to be able to talk about them in a certain way. So this is very difficult the first time you try to do this, especially about an article that you haven't really talked about all that much. So you guys did a great job. I wanted to talk to you guys about the one that's due tonight. So I realize it's kind of late for me to be sending this. But again, this is going to be a rough draft of something. This is part of your rough draft that you will later use in your rhetorical analysis. So if it's not perfect the first time, that's fine. That's the point of writing, is to revise. So we're going to continue to revise this. So let's take a look. Let's go to Unit 3 where we're at. I have added this group of resources down at the bottom, rhetorical analysis resources. We'll be looking at the sample argument paragraph, but there's also MLA format information. If you didn't get a chance to watch the video I made about it, or if you didn't look it up, here's some shorthand information about what MLA entails. Analytical topic sentences, how to write a good topic sentence that has a claim and lots of information that's not just an empty sentence. Commonplace phrases, this talks about the rhetorical concepts and the terms, so this is a good one to look over right now. Effective quote integration. If you have problems embedding your quotes into your sentences, take a look at this. This gives you some strategies. The rhetorical analysis structure. I will go over this hopefully again, but take a look at this. It talks about what is needed from each paragraph. So basically, I'll talk about this really quickly. Your first paragraph, you will give the article that you are, or the text that you are analyzing, the text author, the place where it is published, the context. Based on all of this information, you will guess an audience. You will say this is the author's audience, and they want to achieve their purpose of doing this. Then you will move into the summary. The summary is 1 to 2 paragraphs. You will not show any bias. You will only say this is what the author says. This is what the argument is. So your reader should not be able to tell whether or not you agree with the author, because these paragraphs will not be biased at all. Then you will move into 1 to 3 paragraphs about rhetorical terms. And this is what we're writing tonight in our discussion forum. We're writing 1 to 2 of these paragraphs. You will need 3 in your rhetorical analysis, and each paragraph will be about its own term. So let's take a look at what these paragraphs should look like. Okay, let's open it here. Okay. Now, we're going to start with the topic sentence that makes a claim. It's analytic. It doesn't just describe. It's specific. It's not just pathos, but even more specific. And C, links back to the writer's thesis. Okay, so what does this mean? Let's look at this topic sentence. In order to get his readers to agree that youth do not spend much time alone, Dershowitz appeals to pathos, shocking his readers with startling statistics. Okay, so we know that Dershowitz's claim, purpose, he's trying to get his readers to agree that youth do not spend much time alone. We know this already just from this topic sentence. This has already been established. Remember, this has been established in the introductory paragraph and in the summary, so we don't have to repeat too much. Also, note that this is the author's last name. We've already introduced the author with the author's first and last name in the earlier paragraphs. Now we refer to the author by the author's last name, not their first. Okay, so we know that this paragraph is going to be about pathos. It's not going to be about any of the other terms. We also know that it's how it's going to be about pathos. He's using shock. This is the emotion. Pathos means emotion, right? Shock is the emotion he's using. Shocking his readers with startling statistics. Okay, so we think statistics, oh, it's logos, right? Yes, that's true. But he is talking about the effects that he's talking about is shock, which is not logos. So this is kind of a mix. You can use statistics in a different paragraph about logos, but that would have a different effect. So you'll understand when we move on. The effect here is shock, so it's pathos. The first way he appeals to his audience's sense of pathos. Nice transition, first way. We know we're moving into the first piece of evidence. We want usually 3 pieces for each paragraph. 3 is always a good number for writing, right? We have 3 appeals or rhetorical terms in our rhetorical analysis, and in our paragraphs we have 3 pieces of evidence. So the first way he appeals to his audience's sense of pathos is by giving the example of the girl who sent 3,000 texts, here's our statistics, a month. He then broke it down to 100 texts a day, 1 text every 10 minutes. So this is the information from the text. This is the evidence. It's not a quote here, but it is specific numbers. Okay, he breaks it down this way to show, he's telling the reason why, to show the reader that the girl is never alone. She is almost constantly talking to someone 24 hours a day. Now, this is a claim that the author, Dershowitz, does not make. The person who read his article, in this case, it will be you, the person who is analyzing his text is predicting this. This is why. This is what he's doing. He's trying to shock his audience by using these things. He's trying to say the girl is never alone. He doesn't say she's never alone. He says 3,000 texts, 100 texts a day, 1 text every 10 minutes. The reader infers the girl is never alone. She's almost constantly talking to someone. Then this person who's analyzing the argument brings it back to the audience, which is great. Dershowitz's audience, as scholars in the humanities, enjoy being alone, so the thought of someone never being alone is horrifying, or at the very least startling to them. This is great because we're bringing it right back to the specific audience. So different audiences are going to react differently. Scholars in the humanities, I'm guessing this article was published in a peer-reviewed journal, perhaps, or maybe a textbook. So if you think of the difference between like a textbook and the Spiritual Science Research Foundation article that we read, those are 2 very different publications and different people read them, right? So we're guessing these are scholars in the humanities. A lot of people who are scholars spend a lot of time alone. They have to in order to be scholars, in order to do their studying. So he is making, the person who is analyzing is saying that this is how, they're predicting, this is how this audience will react to this information. So that's what I say when you have to explain how the evidence says what you mean it does. You have to explain the effects on the audience. Okay. This sets his audience emotional tone for the essay so that they will agree with him more on his argument that solitude is necessary. Okay, and then there's another transition. He sets the tone of the essay with another example that follows the first one. In this example, Dershowitz describes a girl who hates the idea of being alone so much that she can't even write a paper alone. To Dershowitz's audience, the notion of writing a paper in the company of others would seem silly, since writing a paper is typically a solitary activity. Okay, so the person who's analyzing this is guessing this. Dershowitz didn't say that it's a solitary activity. The person who's analyzing Dershowitz's argument is saying that these scholars in the humanities write papers, and they know that it's a solitary activity. So this is something that the the person who is analyzing comes up with. The analysis brings this information. So I'm not going to keep reading the paragraph, but read over this. This is how you discuss pathos. This is also how you build your paragraph, right? You have a topic sentence, you have transition, you have information from the text, and then you explain how this information affects the readers. You predict its effects on the readers, and then say how the author is using that. And each of these are pathos. Each of these examples are talking about how it affects the reader emotionally, emotions. So you think emotions, you think like anger, right? Or sadness. But there's lots of things. There's shock. There's making his audience feel special and unique. There's feel here, right? This is emotion. So you have to expand. You have to think of all the emotions and not just, the negative emotions. When you think emotions have a negative connotation when you hear that word, somebody's anger or sadness or something. But there's lots of different kinds of emotions. So keep that in mind. So this is a great paragraph to look over before you do your thing tonight. This is what we're going for. If it's not exactly this tonight, that's great. Just do your best, because we're going to continue to revise it to make it look exactly like this. So we're going to do 1 to 2 today, and I believe 1 to 2 next week. So we should have enough to have the rough draft soon. So please let me know if you have any questions. Let's see. Let's go back to where we were. So again, this is under the rhetorical analysis structure. Let's take a look where discussions. Okay, and this is what we're doing. Rhetorical analysis draft work, 1 to 2 terms. So we're reading about these terms: ethos, pathos, logos, mythos. This discussion forum is designed to help you gain traction for your rhetorical analysis, meaning it's going to help you progress in your drafting of this essay. We're going to do 2 to 3 paragraphs here, 1 to 2 of the concepts we've read about, and write 2 to 3 paragraphs that attempt to analyze the text you've chosen to analyze. Now keep in mind, you've already written a summary, you've already talked about the audience. So we're not establishing that in this discussion forum. This one, we're talking about these terms and how the author uses these terms. You don't have to repeat yourself so you don't have to repeat the information you've already put in your summary. We're going back to the ones that you summarized last week. So you will have written the introduction with the context, the article, and the audience. Then you'll move into the summary, and now we're here. So keep this in mind. You don't have to repeat this information. I think that was something that kind of not messed you up, but it was hard to do, get into the terms when you hadn't really talked about the authors or the audience or the summary. So remember, here you've already done the summary. Okay, so as you write your initial post, try to use at least 3 pieces of evidence from the text. Now this is in each paragraph. So use 1 to 2 of the concepts, write 2 to 3 paragraphs, ideally, and so this says 1 more paragraph than the terms you use, but I would like it to be 1 paragraph per term. It keeps it simple. But if you want to elaborate on it in order to get the 3 pieces of evidence for each, you are certainly welcome to. Okay, so use the describe, evaluate, suggest, but also, do you have a different interpretation? Please say this and say why. It's really great to have as many different viewpoints as possible so that we can make the best argument that we can. So hopefully this video helped to explain a couple of things so that this draft work does not seem so hard and so daunting. Please let me know if you have any questions, and great job on this discussion forum, really. So thank you all, and have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions.